thank you everyone for joining us today. For those of you who have just joined, we've already completed a sound check. So I'd like to thank everyone who helped out with that. Bear in mind, if you do need to increase the volume, you should be able to do so on your phone, or if you're using the mic and speakers option, you can do this on your computer. So today, first off, we're going to start off with Paul Byrne, and Paul is the Managing Director here at BrightPay. He is also a chartered accountant, having previously spent 20 years running his own practice. Today, Paul is going to present Auto Enrolment, a new revenue stream for payroll bureaus. And this is designed specifically for accountants and bookkeepers who have payroll clients. Paul will give his fairly unique insight into what Auto Enrolment will mean for bureaus who process payroll for their clients, along with his own thoughts on how you can capitalise from this new business opportunity. Today, we are also delighted to welcome our guest speaker, Steve Johnstone from Creative Auto Enrolment. Steve is the founding director of Creative Benefits, spending his entire business career of over 20 years in the employee benefits industry, primarily in client development and sales management. Now sales director of Creative Auto Enrolment, a subsidiary of Creative Benefits, Steve's primary role is to manage the sales team, delivering the unique Creative Auto Enrolment solution to employers, advisors and payroll professionals across the UK. So we'll also have a Q&A session at the end of today's webinar, and we'll try to get through as many questions as possible. So feel free to type in your questions into the questions tab at the right of the screen. Today we're also giving away 2 free BrightPay 15/16 Bureau licenses, and the competition is open to attendees who stay for the entire webinar. And details of the winners will be emailed out to everyone afterwards. Today's webinar is also being recorded, and we'll send a link to the recording of the webinar to all attendees afterwards. As for the presentation slides, you can access these in the handout section at the right of your screen. So I'll now pass you over to Paul, who will begin Auto Enrolment, a new revenue stream for payroll bureaus.
Hello, how you doing? Just one thing I was going to say to Steve there. Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, it might be a good idea for you to mute your mic just while I'm doing my part of it, because sometimes there's a bit of interference.
Understand. I'll do that right now.
Okay, thank you. The other thing as well, we're having some difficulties with our own internet connection here in the last half an hour. Which is typical, so hopefully it'll hold up for the duration of this webinar. Okay, so just to kick off here, as Rachel said, my background is as a practicing accountant. I started my own practice back in the 80s. That just goes to show how old I am, and eventually grew to a 3-partner practice with 10 staff. While in practice, I provided payroll bureau services for about 30 clients, so I have some idea of what it is like in the front line. In 1992, I got into payroll software development, and a large part of my reasoning for this was to make better software than what I was using at the time. Eventually, we introduced BrightPay and Bright Contracts in both the UK and Ireland. However, I can't claim full credit for BrightPay, as it is written by someone younger and better than I, my fellow director Ross Webster. Today, over 80,000 employers across the UK and Ireland use our products, a figure that we are improving on every year. So here's the agenda for my slot today, which I hope you will find useful and give you plenty of food for thought. When talking, I will often refer to auto enrolment or automatic enrolment simply as AE. And for those of you who have tuned into any of our previous webinars, apologies if I end up repeating some of the points previously made. Unfortunately, this is unavoidable. Okay, a quick recap on what auto enrolment means. And just to note that this is only a summary. AE is a vast and complex subject. It would take days, even weeks, to cover the subject properly. At the end of the day, you should not need to have an in-depth knowledge of AE. It is up to your pension provider and payroll software provider to filter out all the noise for you. The Workplace Pension Reform's Automatic Enrolment Act, or I think it's Act, set out in the Pensions Act, 2008, it was introduced in October 2012. All employers are required to offer a workplace pension scheme to their eligible workers. AE is being rolled out in stages across all employers and started with the larger employers in October 2012. By October 2018, all employers will be required to offer workplace pension schemes to eligible workers. You can see from the slide there that large employers became subject to the duties, i.e. reached their staging date between October 2012 and February 2014, and medium-sized employers between April 14 and April 2015. From June 2015, small and micro employers began to reach their staging date. What AE means for an employer is that from their staging date, or from the deferred date if they're using postponement, all eligible job holders must be automatically enrolled. All employees must be assessed to determine whether they are eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders, or entitled workers. Eligible job holders are those who are aged between 22 and state pension age, earn above the earnings threshold, which is currently £10,000 per annum, and work in the UK. All other employees are either non-eligible job holders or entitled workers, and they can choose to join the workplace pension scheme. So in summary, auto enrolment is something that is optional for the employee, but mandatory for the employer. With AE comes a number of employer responsibilities. A pension scheme must be set up with a qualifying pension provider, and this should be done in advance of your staging date. This should not require a great deal of time. For example, registering with Nest should take only about 30 minutes on average to complete. And just an aside there in setting up a pension scheme, the latest instruction from the pensions regulator is that if you do not have eligible job holders, you don't need to actually register in advance with a pension scheme, although this will put things in to be a bit of a rush when you do get eligible job holders, or non-eligible job holder becomes an eligible job holder afterwards. But that is their instruction at the moment. Next, the workforce must be assessed at your client's staging date, and all eligible job holders must be automatically enrolled into a workplace pension scheme, unless they're using postponement. All employees must receive communications within 6 weeks of the staging date, not just those who have been enrolled. You must notify eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders, and entitled workers, including those who have been postponed of AE, and how they have been affected. Apparently, some employers believe that if they choose to postpone all employees for 3 months at their staging date, then nothing needs to be done in that 3-month period. This is not the case, as all employees must receive a communication within 6 weeks of the staging date relating to the postponement and explaining when they will be enrolled. If this communication is not issued, then the postponement effectively never happened, and enrolment must be completed retrospectively back to the staging date, which would in itself be a nightmare. There are also a number of ongoing employer responsibilities, such as handling opt-outs and opt-ins, making deductions and contributions, monitoring employees each pay period, and sending a contribution file to the pension provider. Employers, or you on their behalf, must complete a declaration of compliance within 5 months of the staging date to notify the pensions regulator that they've complied with AE. So you'll see from this slide that January 2016 is essentially when small and micro employers start to stage. Even though they were starting to stage from June 2015, it's really January 2016, which is when the real rush will start. 110,000 employers are set to stage in the January to March 2016 quarter alone, and over 1 million more employees from there on. So this is the start of the so-called tsunami, and things may get hectic from there on. A lot of the companies staging before now will probably have had their own HR people, in-house accountant, or payroll department to help them through the enrolment process. The vast majority of those staging from January 2016 will have no in-house expertise and will more than likely turn to you for help. So you have a gift-wrapped business opportunity. Some interesting research by the pensions regulator Advisors say 50% of employers who have already enrolled have turned to them very close to their staging date. 3 out of 10 payroll administrators feel their clients will rely on them completely to help them through the process. And finally, 79% believe that their clients would wait until the last minute to seek advice. Nearly 68,000 employers have staged and completed their declaration of compliance to date. This encompasses a total of over 20 million employees. Of these employees, 5.5 million employees were automatically enrolled into a workplace pension scheme. 9.4 million were already active members of a qualifying workplace pension scheme, and 5.7 million employees did not fall into the previous categories. I suppose this is kind of representative of the type of employers that would have staged before now, in that they were mainly very large employers involved in the public sector or something like that, where there would have been pension schemes already in place for a lot of those employees. 1.8 million small and micro employers have yet to reach their staging date. With the vast quantity of information available, employers are fast becoming confused, bewildered and overwhelmed. The pensions regulator estimates that 78% of SMEs will turn to an accountant, bookkeeper or payroll bureau. So as I said before, we have a gift-wrapped business opportunity, and it's business you don't have to go chasing. So how will AE result in a new revenue stream for you? A discussion I had with a BrightPay customer recently sums it up nicely. He was charging his 15-employee client £400 for handling their staging, and had upped his payroll fees from £1 per payslip to £1.50 per payslip to cover the ongoing AE duties. Staging took him less than an hour. There were no additional software costs, and the ongoing duties were minimal in terms of his time. And most importantly, the client was delighted to have all this taken off their plate. And I should stress as well that at £400, I have heard more recent figures bandied about by other accountants that are a lot higher than that level. So I don't know whether there's any sort of consistency reached in the profession. No doubt there isn't, but I think it's a case that a lot of accountants will choose to charge on the basis of what time it takes them, and disruption and the training maybe for staff that has to go on. So that'll be a thing that'll evolve, I suppose, over the next couple of years. Payroll bureaus and accountants have had a lot to deal with in recent years. Things have cost them in time, money, training and new systems, on which they could not readily recharge to their clients. Examples of these things are RTI, IXBRL, FRS 102. AE is the one new change that you can charge for, and that should not cost you anything. So 3 key points are evident. Employers will need help from payroll bureaus. Employers will probably come to you last minute for assistance, and employers will prefer to consolidate all their outsourced services to one provider. So payroll bureaus need to decide if they are ready to take on AE business. With many shying away from offering this as an extra service, bureaus will need to determine what kind of information and support they will offer to help their clients comply with these new AE duties. Advisors will find that a large portion of employers will contact them very close to or even after their staging date. And if a client does contact you after a staging date and has done nothing, if their staging date has passed by less than 6 weeks, get them to issue postponement letters to all employees immediately. Otherwise, they will need to backdate AE back to the staging date. With a high level of employers set to enrol in the coming year, there is huge potential for bureaus to gain new clients and to increase fees with existing clients. Payroll bureaus that want to succeed in this competitive industry will need to predict the evolutionary needs of their clients. You need to establish yourself as a proactive rather than a reactive AE advisor. Bureaus will naturally increase their income by providing this service in exchange for an initial setup fee plus a monthly retainer to manage the ongoing AE duties, or an increased price per payslip. One idea is to offer a free AE consultation with clients. This consultation allows you to explain the various administrative aspects of AE. The consultation approach will hopefully eliminate your client seeking AE advice from you for free. Typically, a consultation will last for half an hour. It is also useful to produce a PDF for your client explaining some of the AE duties. This information and a number of guides are available on the Pension Regulator's website. By offering a complete end-to-end solution, bureaus can generate income and enhance client relationships. If bureaus offer other services such as bookkeeping, tax returns, audits, management accounts, they will have a new platform to reach and upsell to this new audience. You will find that employers will be happy to consolidate all their outsourcing services to one person or advisor. One recurring theme I hear from accountants and bookkeepers alike is that they can't really charge for AE. Their clients wouldn't accept it or can't afford it. My answer to this is that it's not your fault that AE has come in. It's not your fault that there are many new responsibilities attached to AE. And it's not your fault that there are penalties for non-compliance. Payroll software is the logical fit for processing AE. The payroll will already hold details of age and earnings, and these are the two main elements in determining what AE actions are required at any stage. Payroll software can therefore readily handle AE, much like it took up the challenge of RTI. In fact, AE slots neatly alongside RTI as just one more tick box to check each pay period. While there is no legal obligation to have software in place, the Pensions Regulator encourages employers to use an integrated payroll and AE solution that can automate employer duties and simplify the AE process. It is important that payroll and AE software can handle all the necessary employer duties, and you should test it well ahead of your staging date to make sure it works. Some payroll software provides auto enrolment functionality that can be tedious and time-consuming, while other providers offer a streamlined solution that will automate AE duties. For large, repetitive, or time-sensitive tasks, the speed of automated AE offers significant cost savings to bureaus. This will be especially relevant when these employers approach their bureaus close to or even after their staging date. By making sure that your payroll software does the following functions, it will allow you to streamline your processes and start making a profit. So these functions. To check, ask your payroll provider the following questions. Does it assess your workforce? Does it allow the use of postponement? Does it automate employee communications? Does it calculate pension contributions? Does it handle opt-ins and joining? Does it handle opt-outs and refunds? Does it notify you when actions need to be taken? Does it keep records and provide reports? Does it integrate with some or all pension scheme provider systems? Does it provide free support? If you are selecting new software, you should ensure that it is compatible with your existing systems. Auto enrolment does not require a great amount of time. Some payroll software can reduce time spent on auto enrolment even more by automating the duties. When an employer reaches their staging date, an hour or two should be sufficient to deal with AE tasks, which include enrolling all relevant employees, communicating as required to all employees, and setting up and commencing employee deductions and employer contributions. From that point on, it is just a matter of monitoring employees, submitting contribution files to the pension provider, and managing employees who opt in and opt out. Some payroll software monitors the age and earnings of employees in each subsequent pay period to see if any further enrolments are required and if any new employees should be enrolled. Each of these enrolments should only take minutes to process. AE does not need to be a major headache for accountants and their clients, provided they take some time to make sure they have the right tools in place to deal with it. With a combined payroll and AE solution in place, accountants, bookkeepers, and payroll bureaus will benefit from greater efficiency, increased value added, and improved cost savings. And now for the shameless plug. With BrightPay, you can benefit from unlimited employers, unlimited employees, free phone and email support, all for just £199 plus VAT per annum. You can also benefit from a 60-day free trial, which has no limitations to the software. Okay, I would now like to hand you over to Rachel for a quick demo showing you just how easy auto enrollment can be with BrightPay. In this example, we are assuming that the employer, or you on your behalf, is already registered with a pension provider. Which is the pension provider you're going to give
Creative Auto Enrolment. Or I'm doing Nest.
Oh, sorry, we'll give you an example of how it's set up with Nest in this particular case. So thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, so today we're going to have a look at a company set up in BrightPay who are set to stage on the 1st of January 2016. So as soon as your staging date is known, this must be entered in the pensions utility and in the designated field provided. This is to make sure that on-screen auto-enrolment alerts start up at the right time for you. Adding a pension scheme is also straightforward and can be done in advance of your staging date. Simply click Add New Scheme and choose the relevant pension provider from the listing. So as mentioned, I'll be doing Nest today. So you must now enter your employer reference, and you will receive this when you're setting up your pension scheme with the pension provider. And in the following tab, you have to enter a group name. So here I'll just say monthly. And you can now set the contribution types and the earnings basis, or add additional groups if required. So for example, if you have employees on different pay schedules, or if you want to pay the directors differently than the employees. So when ready, click Save, and you'll now see the next tab settings up the top there. So also up here you'll see the assessment button, and this is a new functionality in BrightPay which will allow you to see a preview of what auto-enrollment will look like at your client's staging date. So there's two options. You can include if non-eligible job holders opt in or if they don't opt in. So I'll go with the opt-in. So you'll see here the document details the worker categories of each of the different employees, along with their qualifying earnings, their contribution types, and the total contribution amounts.
It's very useful that actually, because what it'll do is it'll tell the employer how much auto enrollment is actually going to cost them when it does kick in. The other great thing about that as well is, as I was kind of saying earlier on, if you don't have eligible job holders, you don't actually need to register with a pension scheme in advance. So obviously this guide will tell you whether if you're going to have eligible job holders or not.
Okay, so whether you'll need to register with the pension provider.
Yeah.
So this document also includes an overview of general information about employee assessment. So this is a useful document, as Paul mentioned, to send to your clients maybe 6 months in advance of your staging date, just so that they can see what auto-enrollment will look like. So if we go back to our payroll now, and if we finalize up to our staging date, so bear with us now a second. So as soon as you reach your staging date, you'll see these on-screen flags appear, and these notify you that you have auto-enrollment duties to perform. So once you reach your staging date, BrightPay will automatically assess your workforce and determine whether they're eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders, or entitled workers. So if you go into an eligible job holder here, the options are to enrol in a qualifying scheme, postpone for up to 3 months, or to mark as exempt. So if we enrol here, you must now choose the scheme, choose the tax relief, and click Continue. And BrightPay will automatically prepare the employee communications for you, and this is ready for printing, exporting to PDF, or emailing. So if I go into Print Preview here, you'll see this document includes details of the employee's staging date, her contribution rates, her option to opt out, and general information about how auto-enrollment affects the employee. So once the employee receives the letter, you simply mark it as done. And you'll see now that the flag beside Amy's name has disappeared. So if we move on now to Carla, who's a non-eligible job holder, the options here are different. We can print or export the right to opt-in letter. We can opt into a qualifying scheme if she chooses to do so, postpone, or mark as exempt. And again, an entitled worker is slightly different again in that he has the right to join the scheme rather than opt-in. A useful feature in BrightPay is the option to process more than one employee at the same time. So you'll see here, when enrolling one employee, choose the scheme, you'll be given the option to enroll multiple employees with these settings. So I'll tick each of the eligible job holders there and click enrol. So that's the 3 of those enrolled there, and we must now give them their letter. And again, BrightPay will batch prepare the enrolment letter, and this can be printed, exported to PDF or emailed to multiple employees all at the same time. So again, marked as done. BrightPay can also process postponement and batch postponement. So if we go into postpone one employee, we choose the deferral date and postpone for multiple employees. So I'll just take each of those there again. And again, BrightPay will prepare the postponement letter, which is ready for printing, exporting to PDF or emailing, and mark it as done. So back to our payroll here now, and you'll see that the employee and employer contributions are shown up on our live calculation. And if we finalize the pay slips and go into print preview, you'll see the pension deductions showing up on the employee's pay slip also. So BrightPay can also prepare the enrolment and contribution files ready for upload to the pension provider's web portal. So with Nest here, we can click on the enrolment summary and simply create enrolment CSV file, and simply click along each of the steps and fill out the relevant details. So I'll copy this to all. And once you're finished, save the file to a location of your choice ready for upload. Again, the contributions file is very similar. It's click on the contribution summary and choose the CSV file at the relevant pay period. Again, choose the payment date and click along, and again, save the file when notified. If an employee decides to opt out, we can simply click on the Employees tab, choose the employee who wishes to opt out, and enter the opt-out reference, which you will receive from the pension provider when the employee decides to opt out. So if we go back to the payroll now, you'll see in the next pay period, Amy gets a refund of all the pension contributions made to date. So some of the pension providers, such as Creative Auto Enrolment, will handle the communications for you. So to turn off the communications reminders, we can go back to the Pensions tab and click on Auto Enrolment. And if you simply untick the boxes here, it'll turn off all their communications reminders. So finally, another function in BrightPay is the analysis section. So if I go here, you can see here you can open reports. So BrightPay also has a report writer, so we can click New Report, choose the period, the employees, and the columns. So I'll just go in here and create a Nest report. So I'll just tick each of those there, okay, and run report. So you'll see here it has a breakdown of each of the employee and employer contributions, the total amounts, and this report then can be printed, exported to PDF, or it even can be saved so that it appears here so you can open it quickly. So that completes my short demo of BrightPay for today. So I'm now going to pass you back to Paul to finish off his side of the presentation.
Okay, just one thing I want to say there as well. Just when I saw you doing the demonstration, two things just struck me. Ray just showed you the flags that show up beside the employee or the employees that need action performed. It's not just that we show flags. If you actually try and process a period, without paying attention to those flags, it will come at you at that stage saying, listen, no, you do have to do something here. You need to, enroll employees or whatever. The other thing is that for Nest, we do actually have the API built into the software now, which is that is actually being released either later on this week or next week. And that means that you don't have to bother with saving CSV files and uploading CSV files. It'll basically communicate directly with the Nest system. So they're just the 2 points I wanted to make before we move on. Okay, so just to summarize the key takeaways from today's webinar. So first of all, be ready. Know what you need to know when asked by your clients. With this very thing in mind, I recently published a paper on Accounting Web with the disrespectful title, Automatic Enrolment for Dummies. It's a 10-minute read, and we will send you a copy of this PowerPoint after the webinar, and this will include a link to the article. Make sure you have the correct software and systems in place to prepare your clients easily for auto-enrollment. Be aware that some payroll software packages only partially handle AE. Be aware of hidden costs when researching AE solutions. You need to think about any limitations when it comes to the number of employers and employees. Confirm that support costs are included or inexpensive with your chosen solution. Be proactive and inform your clients that you are open for AE business. Find out their staging date on the Pensions Regulator website and approach them in advance of this date. Okay, so before I pass you over to Steve, if you did have any questions in relation to BrightPay and AE, please type them into the chat bar now so that we can get through as many questions as we can in the Q&A session. So I'm delighted to pass you over to Steve, who will present Auto Enrolment Made Simple.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Good, excellent. Thank you for that, Paul and Rachel. Most appreciated. Good to hear exactly how you're being proactive with the auto-enrolment process, which with those numbers of people staging over the next 2 years, the more of us that can help employers, the better. I'd like to take you through a presentation today on our process, which, working with BrightPay in certain areas, can make the whole process very straightforward for you and can help your employers by them not needing to make any decisions as we've already made them for them. I shall run through all of those, and I'll also show you how simple it is to actually sign up to our process. Before I do so, I'd just like to give you a bit of background to ourselves. Creative Auto Enrolment Limited, we are national auto enrolment specialists. We've been active in the auto enrolment field since the middle of 2013. We are part of the Creative Benefits Group, which is a firm of independent chartered benefit consultants providing employee benefit services and wealth management services to companies and individuals. Our auto-enrolment advice and services are applicable to anyone who services payroll, so accountants, payroll bureau and bookkeepers. We work quite heavily with IFAs, employee benefit consultancies. Our service is available direct to employers, and we have a very robust process and service available for employees who may be being auto-enrolled into a pension scheme for the very first time and need some help and assistance with what it is they've been auto-enrolled into. Our simple auto-enrolment solution has really been designed for those employers that are looking to handle auto-enrolment in the most straightforward, cost-effective way. It's very easy to set up and all the compliance can be done online. There is no extra cost to your clients or directly to the employer above the statutory pension contributions that would need to be deducted for anybody who's auto-enrolled. You can use the existing payroll functionality you may have. You don't have to have the extra payroll functionality included, but that's not to say you shouldn't have it because our solution may not be appropriate for every single one of your clients. It's also relevant to say that our service works very well in conjunction with BrightPay, which I'll come on to in a little bit more detail later. We have developed an accountant's portal which is available for bulk processing of payroll clients, which I'll run through, and employee, employer and payroll support is available through our help desk. The qualifying pension scheme that is used for those who are auto-enrolled invests all the funds with Scottish Widows. So the solution is suitable for any employers. We have no minimum size of employer. It can range from no employees through to 1,000 employees. There's no minimum annual premium. Sorry, when I say no employees, I mean no eligible employees. So there are a number of employers that won't have any employees at all, and you can use our process to process all of those employers if you wish. It's very relevant for payroll services who are running multiple payrolls because of the bulk upload facility. and everything can be done online in a very straightforward way. So all of the enrolment of employees occurs online. We produce all of the statutory communications for employees and issue them to them. And we carry out all of the auto-enrolment administration, which includes the completion of the declaration of compliance at the end of the process. All employers, 5 months after their staging date, have to confirm to the pensions regulator how they've complied with the auto-enrolment legislation. Our process will complete that declaration of compliance for them. So by using our process, the employer is guaranteed full legal compliance as we basically take the burden away from them. And the employer and employee help desks are there to answer any employer questions about the process. The majority of phone calls we get into the help desk are by employees who are querying about pensions and questioning, can I opt out? How do I opt out? We get some people asking if they can opt in. That's not very many at the moment. But we also get ongoing questions regarding other issues such as, I have pensions from other employers, what should I do with them? And our help desk can handle all of those questions. So it really is minimum work for employers. We've designed this solution to be as simple and straightforward for those employers who are due to stage from now onwards. It's very simple to sign up to the service, and I'll run through a very brief demonstration of that in just a moment. The pension rules are defined in the payroll software. So once we've assessed the employees, we will explain to you who you need to put into the pension scheme, and then every time you run the payroll, the payroll software will deduct the right pension contributions. As I've already said, we'll issue all of the employee communications via email if employees have email. However, hard copies are available for those employees without email. And then whoever runs the payroll is emailed with details of any changes that they need to make before they next run the payroll. So for example, opt-ins, opt-outs, or any changes to contribution. You can use the existing payroll functionality. You don't need any extra auto-enrolment software. It is compatible with BrightPay for those employers running their own system. So the information we need is easily accessible through the BrightPay payroll software. And all pension contributions for those who have eligible job holders auto-enrolled are taken by direct debit. The accountant's portal has been specifically designed for people who run multiple payrolls. And it's a simple portal which is available to manage those multiple payrolls. You can make a bulk upload of your basic client information, which we can use and work with you to facilitate introductions to your clients about our service. We have some communications that you can use that you can issue to your client introducing the service. We can receive data from payroll in any format, and I'm aware that a number of different payroll software have different ways of producing information. So we can map our system to receive that data in whatever way it comes out of your payroll software. And then once you're into processing a number of clients, we can receive a bulk upload of payroll data, so you don't have to upload data for every single employer separately, and we can receive it all in one go. And as I've mentioned already, and it's the same for the accountant's portal, it's very compatible with the BrightPay payroll software, as our services are embedded into the BrightPay system. And what this can mean for a payroll person is that basically you've got one auto-enrolment solution for the majority of your clients. Obviously there are an awful lot of companies out there offering auto-enrolment solutions, and our view is that you can go through this simple process and you're only having to understand the process for the majority of your clients for one particular provider. I mentioned earlier that the employer doesn't have to make any decisions with our process. We have designed this to be the most basic auto-enrolment process and setup possible. So for example, Paul mentioned earlier regarding things like postponements. Our process will automatically postpone employers for 3 months. The contribution basis is what's called qualifying earnings, which are earnings between the lower and upper earnings limits that apply at the moment. So £5,825 and £42,000. We base contributions on earnings between those figures. The contribution basis is the minimum qualifying earnings basis, so that will start at 1% from the employer and 1% from the employee until April 2018, when it increases. Employee and employer can make extra contributions if they wish, and all opt-outs and opt-ins are handled via our help desk. The pension scheme is the Creative Pension Trust. invested with Scottish Widows with a standard retirement age of 65, although employees can retire early from 55. The money is automatically invested into the strategic pensions investment approach, and the independent trustees who oversee the management of the pension scheme are a company called PAN trustees. If any of you have heard of the People's Pension, one of the other providers, PAN trustees are also the trustees of that particular plan as well. And the charges within the plan, we've taken an annual management charge of 0.4% per annum and a monthly service fee of £2 per contribution. That fee does reduce for people who earn less than £18,000. The government introduced a price cap on auto enrolment schemes last year and said that the maximum a pension scheme can charge for auto enrolment compliance is 0.75% of the value of the fund. Our charging structure is equivalent to 0.66 of the value of the fund, so well within that price cap. I have mentioned the help desk on a few occasions, but I will mention it again. The majority of the calls we receive into our help desk at the moment are from employers or payroll people just making sure everything's set up and ready to go for the large number of companies that are going to be staging over the next 2 years. That then gradually is moving towards more calls from employees inquiring about exactly what is this pension scheme that I've been enrolled into, how do I opt out of it, should I opt out of it, should I pay more? And as I mentioned previously, we do get a lot of calls from people regarding wanting to look at potential transferring pensions from previous employers' pension schemes as well. It is worth mentioning that one of the big areas with auto enrolment that employers need to be very careful about is not getting involved in a conversation with them about whether they should be in it or not. There are fines that the pensions regulator will impose if employers are seen to do anything that might coerce employees to opt out. So our recommendation is that any questions that an employer receives from an employee, they simply refer them to our help desk and we will handle those questions. What I'd just like to show you briefly now is two examples of how an employer initially can sign up for our services. An employer can specifically sign up for our services by going directly to our website and clicking on the Sign Up Now button. This takes them to a sign-up screen and it basically takes about 1.5 minutes to complete this information. Once done so, the employer is now signed up to our process, has accepted our terms and conditions and is a member of the pension scheme. So in just over a minute, an employer can have their auto-enrolment setup done, simply because we're not asking them to make any decisions. So the key parts on this screen that an employer would need to be aware of are things like we ask them, for example, who runs their payroll. So if the employer runs it themselves, they can click on that particular button. They can put in their staging date, which will say is March 2016. They can put in their PAYE reference number, confirm which payroll software they use, how many payrolls they have, because they may have a weekly and a monthly, and then they can accept our terms and conditions. If the person completing the screen is able to accept our terms and conditions, so bind the employer to our services, then they simply click yes, and then they can get access to our services agreement and participation agreement. This is the agreement that allows them to enter our pension scheme. They can then click that they accept those and click the complete button. They are then basically signed up for our services. If they outsource their payroll to a third party, then all we ask for is the details of who runs the payroll, and we then make contact with that payroll operator to talk to them about what we need them to do to be able to process our auto-enrolment service. So that's if an employer is signing up direct. An alternative is if the accountant wants to sign up to use our bulk service, and instead of going through the actual process, I've just got an example of how the system works. So the accountant can simply put their own details in. They can insert their company details, the payroll software that they use, a username and a password, and complete. That means that the accountant's portal is now set up. And once you log back in you receive an email from us confirming that you've signed up with a user guide and a template communication that you could send out to your non-payroll clients, which introduces our service. And this is an example of that communication. We can supply you with these separately, and this is just a Word document, so you are able to make changes to it to fit in with your own personal situations. And then once you've signed up, you basically can add a client individually, or you can bulk upload your clients into the system. So you could add a client individually by typing in their information, or you can do a bulk upload of clients by simply completing a spreadsheet which you can get access to from that particular screen. Sorry about that, I had to go through that, which puts the basic information of your clients in. You upload that to us in the usual way that you would upload a file, and then all of those clients are then sat in our system ready to go. The communication that you can issue is similar to the one to non-payroll clients, but it's introducing our service, and you then control when your clients are introduced to us and when we issue them with details of our services agreement and deed of participation, asking them to complete our service. And then I'll carry on going through this, and it would detail how you basically upload a file into the system or a bulk upload of the process. And the simple point is that we need certain information from the payroll software, and if the payroll software can produce it in the order we need it, very simple and very straightforward, which BrightPay can do. Otherwise, we can map our service to receive that, map our system to receive the information in whatever way your payroll software produces it. And our help desk can help with making sure that that file is suitably put together. So that, in summary, is our service. What we have designed is basically the easiest to use online auto-enrolment service, because we've made all the decisions for your employee, for the employers, so they don't have to get involved with deciding what basis of pension scheme to set up, what type of pension scheme to set up, how to use postponement, and what contributions to make. So it's very simple, very straightforward, and it's been designed to help payroll operators manage auto-enrolment in the most straightforward way. And on that note, I will pass it back to Rachel and Paul.
Okay, thanks for that, Steve. It was very good.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I like how simple you've made it, especially that 1 minute to set up. That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's specifically designed to help with making it nice and straightforward and easy.
Yeah. Well, that's the key, isn't it? And also one of the things we have been asked here quite a bit is the communications from the accountant to their clients, which we don't actually facilitate at the moment, but I see you've actually got that sorted in your system.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
It helps introduce the service and make it easy for the accountant to explain to their clients that auto-enrolment is coming, and they really need to pay attention to it, because the pensions regulator does have teeth as far as auto-enrolment is concerned and has been fining people, and that's the last thing anybody wants.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I thought okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so there is a good few questions coming through here. So just while I'm waiting for a few more to come through there, I'm just going to talk you through a few quick points. I will send out a follow-up email to everyone afterwards, which will include a link to book a demo with BrightPay, to free auto-enrollment guides, or to our future webinars. And just to mention as well, our next webinar is on Monday, and it's a CPD accredited webinar where you can gain 2 CPD hours, and it's auto-enrollment training for payroll bureaus. Here's also a few statistics from a recent customer survey. And I'd also like to mention as well that we're a preferred payroll supplier for tax assist accountants, and we have recently been accredited by the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. So now for the questions and answers, and we do have some coming through here. So the first one here for Steve, how does this interact with BrightPay?
Right, okay, so in your demonstration, Rachel, you showed how BrightPay can do the various processing for auto-enrolment. how we interact mostly with BrightPay is that we do take on most of the auto enrolment services. So we do all of the assessment, do all of the communications. So the way that we interact with BrightPay is that the information we need and the report that we need of the payroll data is easily accessible within BrightPay. So you can simply run the BrightPay payroll software and select us from the pension provider, and that will automatically populate the report we need uploaded into our system every time payroll is run. So it's a simple process of just using the payroll software as you would have done previously, and then selecting us as the pension provider to be able to populate the spreadsheet or the file that we need uploaded into our system.
Okay. One for Paul here. What if we are using True Potential for our auto enrollment provider? I didn't see this in the options of the demo.
True Potential, we don't actually have that file spec built into the it's BrightPay. I know with BrightPay, Rachel was showing you can actually produce some reports that you can design yourself and actually export these to Excel and then save them as a CSV file. I don't know if that's probably not an ideal solution, but if we do have a number of customers looking for True Potential, we would then try and find out what the file specification is and build it into a future release. So that's kind of, I suppose, all I can say about it.
What do I do about temporary employees who work in the UK on a working visa for 3 to 5 months and then leave the country till the following year? They speak Spanish and very little English and are not on email.
Okay. Well, I suppose assuming that they're over the trigger level of earnings, which is £10,000 per annum, you do have the option of postponing for up to 3 months. But if they ordinarily work in the UK, which I think this is what this is saying that they do, I think, Steve, they do have to enrol them, don't they? In that
Yes,
case?
they do. Yes.
Yeah.
If they're on PAYE earning more than £10,000, they would have to be auto-enrolled. But you're quite right. You can postpone for 3 months, and therefore, in that situation, for that specific example, they might never get auto-enrolled into the pension scheme.
Yeah.
If they earn less than £10,000, then you still have to go through the process. The whole point is that they're being paid through PAYE, so they are deemed to be workers from an auto-enrollment perspective.
Yeah. In relation to the language, I guess that's probably up to the, our software only produces the communications in English. I don't know whether some pension companies might have a facility for translations or whatever. Have you come across that?
We have, ours is all in English. However, our help desk can have a facility to be able to patch into a translation service. So if people to phone up and English is not their main language, or their English is not that good, then we can patch into a translation service to help them understand what's happening to them.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Another question for you here, Steve. What's the latest employers can sign up for creative services?
In reality, 5 weeks after their staging date is our deadline. The reason I mention that is that because we automatically postpone employers for the full 3 months, the legislation says you have to get a postponement notice out within 6 weeks of the staging date, otherwise you haven't postponed. Because our process is so straightforward and simple, we can take employers up to about 5 weeks after their staging dates. So June of this year was the first month that the smallest employers in the UK had to start staging. The pensions regulator used June as a test bed. We did have quite a number of small employers contacting us after the 1st of June because they just hadn't realised that they had to do this, and they had suddenly been passed something either by by someone in their office or from the regulator themselves reminding them, and there was a bit of a panic. But we are able to take people up to about 5 weeks after their staging date.
Okay. Another one for Paul here. How easy is it to move from existing software for payroll to BrightPay prior to payroll year end? Is there a quick bulk import, or do you help?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it depends what the software is. We have done some work on making it easy to import from certain packages. I won't actually mention them over the air, so to speak, but Yeah, we are working on making that easy because obviously we want new customers, and if they want to move from other software, yes, we need to make that process as easy as possible. So generally it's a case where you would create a file in your existing software, which is generally a CSV file, and we have the ability to suck all that information into BrightPay to import it in. Some software packages, it's a little bit more intricate, so we've actually performed some programming around that, and we're working on that all the time. I just see a question here: is it MoneySoft? No, it isn't at the moment. It's the other big players. So there are. If we don't have that ability to actually import a CSV file from another package, it can be time consuming to actually, put that information manually into BrightPay. So, we kind of say in that case, it's probably better off to wait till the start of the tax year to do that, because otherwise you're talking about trying to include cumulative information to date. And if you get that wrong, that has also implications for your RTI submissions. So, yeah, for MoneySoft at the moment, no, we don't have that import facility. We probably will at some stage in the future, but the other main players we do actually have, and we're working on particular integration tools to make that mid-year change easy.
Okay. There's another one in here, I'm not sure which of you want to take it. Can you postpone an employee more than once?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So the obvious situation where that might arise is if at your staging date you decide to postpone all of your employees, and then you get to the end of postponement and you assess all of the employees, and those that aren't assessed as eligible, aren't enrolled, and if they suddenly become eligible because they might have turned 22 or their earnings might have increased, at the moment they become eligible, you can postpone them again. So you could postpone them for another 3 months if you wanted to, and then at the end of that 3 months, if, for example, their earnings have dipped down again, they won't be auto-enrolled. And then at another point, their earnings increase again, so they become eligible. You can postpone them again. So effectively, you can keep postponing people on an earnings basis, but obviously not on an age basis.
Yeah, I think the main thing there is you can't have back-to-back postponements. So if somebody is still eligible at the end of their postponement period, you have to then enroll them. You can't postpone them again at that stage.
Okay. Another one here for Paul. How much extra will be charged for the software to use the AE section?
Oh, there's no additional cost for that. It's all built into the payroll.
Okay. And does BrightPay cater for statutory payments?
As in like statutory paternity pay,
Yeah.
statutory sick pay? Yes, it does, yeah.
Okay. So that's all the questions that have came through here today. I would like to thank Steve for joining us today, and I'd like to thank all our attendees for joining us. So we will send out a follow-up email with all the links that I mentioned and with the recording of the webinar. So thanks everyone.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you all.